You've listened to the podcast, now read a blog. Check out the rest of Centaku Media, which features news, reviews, and observations written with a unique approach, catering to like-minded fans of anime and related subcultures. We love anime, but we also share beyond because we're in the center of other otaku media. If this is your mood, please follow along. Check out Centaku Media in the link of the show page or go to centakumedia.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Centaku Media. You are listening to the Centaku Media Podcast, a source for sharing interests beyond the scope of anime because we're in the center of other otaku interests. Hello everyone, this is Sanjo-chan, your host of the Centaku Media Podcast, and this is the 5th episode of the Centaku Media Journal for the week of July 5th, 2020. And with that said, we've made it to the second half of 2020. Yay! Like, it's really hard to believe we've made it this far already, and with everything that's happened so far, it's like, wow. It's like, okay, we need to take a breather. We finally got here to part 2 of 2020, so let's not screw it up. And with that said, like, everything is, not going very well depending on where you live. So, I live in the U.S., as you can tell probably by my voice. It's probably hard to tell, I don't know. But, yeah, in the U.S., things are not looking really well because the cases of COVID-19 are rising again because everyone wants to get back to normal, but that's not that easy. And people don't seem to realize that the only way to stop this from increasing is to stay home, or at least wear a mask if you can't stay home, and no one's not really doing that, and it's really frustrating. So just hang in there, please be safe, and please do your part to not get sick or get anyone else sick. So that's the only solution to all this, and I know they're working on the vaccine. That's all we can do is just wait and stay safe and be healthy, and whatever time that we didn't have for anyone's, for their own projects, now's the time to take it up, because we might be in this in a lockdown state again with everything going on. But I know you came here listening to this podcast not hoping to hear anything about COVID-19, and I apologize, but I know that's going to be quite the theme for a while with some of the news I'll be talking about. And for those that are just tuning in, so Centaku Media Journal, or the Centaku Media Journal, which I still call it, just to shorten it, it's a bi-weekly series where I talk about the latest news and events happening in the industries of anime, gaming, and entertainment from the J-pop and K-pop worlds. And every episode I begin with an intro where I talk about how everyone's doing, how I'm doing, and all that. So with that said, I hope everyone's doing alright. How's everyone doing? Hope no one has caught COVID. And I know I've had some close calls too with some people in my circle. So like a coworker was exposed to someone that had it, but they came back negative. So that was a relief. And then someone that I work with for a convention, they had a close call too with someone that, tested positive. But everyone's alright. Everyone's doing alright. So the only way we can do this is just to keep safe. So I don't know how much more I can say it, but I can't say it enough. There's, no limit on how much I can say it. But anyway, so speaking of work, so last episode of the Centaku Media Journal, I talked about an issue I had at work with a co-worker, which I will refer to as A, just A, initial. Doesn't mean their name at all, so just coworker A. And I'm not going to reveal their true identity. Like, this could be just entirely made up, as far as anyone, knows. Alright, so last episode, the coworker in question, A, it sounded like they were trying to push work off on me because they see me as a peon, and I know that's kind of saying much, but for the last couple of years that I've worked with this person, it seemed like they just don't want to take the hardest work and just deal with the easy one until they have to leave. And the way they were trying to push it off on me came off as a little demeaning. Like, whenever I come to what they need for me to do, they would point at it like I can't see it when it's in plain sight. And I've talked to my colleagues and the higher-ups about it, and they agree that that's not right. That person shouldn't be doing it like that. Now, this person could be doing it intentionally, or they could be doing it and not knowing that it hurts me. But putting this together with the events I mentioned in the last episode, which, to sum it up, a new co-worker and this person, A, it seemed like they planned on pushing work on me because they didn't want to do it so they could do other things that were easier, even though I communicated with them that I had to leave, and then another new trainee had to leave much sooner, so we had to leave at the same time, and that was because I had to make plans that day, and I had to work that day because of an emergency of our coworker having to isolate just in case. But there was a back and forth that, it sounded like that this was all planned, and it made me uncomfortable, so I had to talk about it with a colleague, and they agreed that this didn't sound right. So from what it sounded like is that they didn't mention it directly to them, but it sounded like maybe the person was embarrassed. And the last time I saw them, it was a couple of days since I saw them, because they changed our schedule. So last time I saw the person, they said, "Oh, hi." Kind of like, "Oh, hi, Mark," in that Tommy Wiseau movie. So it was kind of funny when I think about it, but it sounded like the person was embarrassed that they made it out that way. But then again, it seems like this person probably does it on a daily and just rolls with it, which is kind of dangerous in my opinion. But at this point, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens if this behavior then comes back to haunt them. But from the, I guess the conclusion of this and the takeaway from this is that I stood up for myself. I know it wasn't a direct way, but next time I do get to try to stand up for this person, I'll stand my ground. And if things don't go their way and they try to make me feel bad, then this is going to be an issue moving forward, because I don't want to have to deal with this environment, and I already came from an iffy work environment before I even took this job. So that's the conclusion of this order. That's the takeaway, is that I stood up for myself, and if you see something, say something, or if you feel like something's not right, then that would be the time to take it up. But the fact that this has been going on for a couple of years, I think that was enough time for me to explain what I felt was going on and how that occurred. So, for the full details, you can check out the previous episode, which won't hurt, and also maybe it'll be an incentive for you to subscribe and like. But yeah, so that's what happened. But yeah, that's the conclusion of it from this from that event. But in the time since, I've been working with this person because our other person had to take off for something very important. So yeah, I had to work with this person again. And of course, working with this person, they exhibited the same issues that occurred that one fateful day a few weeks ago. But I stood my ground. I told them, no, if we do this, we'll get this done. Because basically they said, "Oh, I'm not done with anything yet." And I'm like, "No, that you don't get the idea." I don't know. I'm guessing this person's just really scatterbrained. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this person just doesn't know what they're doing. But I don't know. Like, it's all good now, but like, I'll keep people updated in case anything goes south. But yes, I guess the moral of the story is that you need to speak up for yourself. You can't have anyone walk on you. And that's, I think, my issue is that I'm too nice to people, and I'm basically a doormat, and I'm a pushover. People tell me that, but unless they know me, it doesn't sound like, you're being honest. If that makes sense. So, I don't know. It's a long story, and I do want to, talk a bit about myself, but I think I've talked a bit about myself already than I have. But I know y'all came here for some anime, awesome, good old gaming and nerd otaku stuff, so we are going to get to that shortly. But for those that are tuning in, so we're going to talk about some anime, gaming, and whatever news out of the J-pop and K-pop industries. And this episode, we're going to talk a bit about a girl group that recently made a record-smashing comeback. Like, literally, record-smashing comeback. Not literally, but you get the idea. So, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, and they don't need any introduction. So, we're going to talk a bit about them later on. And also, for anime news, there's one piece of news, rather, I forgot to include in a previous episode, but considering with everything going on in the country as far as improving race relations, Anime News Network had an article that I really wanted to share that was pretty cool and also gives you insight of who the voices are behind our favorite characters who happen to be black. So I'm really excited to talk a bit about that. And also we'll talk a bit more about some gaming news. There's a new Pokemon game on the horizon and some other good stuff. But the only way you could listen is if you stay tuned right after these messages. This year, with changes to polling places and vote-by-mail laws as a result of COVID, it's important than ever to have a plan to vote. Local elected officials affect our lives every day. They decide who to prosecute, monitor the quality of our drinking water, and choose the leadership of our schools. 30% of voters take the time to vote and then leave some part of their ballot blank. This is a misled opportunity to choose the leaders of our communities. It's okay if you're unfamiliar with some of the more local positions. We recommend hosting a ballot party. Get together with friends over Zoom, split up the research, and go through your ballots together. Go to ballotready.org and enter your address to make a plan to vote and vote informed. Welcome back to the main event. You're listening to episode 5 of the Centaku Media Journal, and today we are going to talk about a lot of anime news. So, I've said on Twitter that I might not be able to cover everything, and for that reason being is because over the weekend, Anime Expo and FunimationCon had their mini-cons, which was held online. So with it being previously the 4th of July, Anime Expo would have been this past weekend. And Anime Expo took the initiative and canceled back in April. And it wasn't until about a month ago that they started promoting Anime Expo Lite, which was only 2 days long. So Anime Expo, for those that don't know, Anime Expo is normally a 4-day weekend event. So it starts like Thursday or ends Monday, something like that. Kind of like Dragon Con. Dragon Con actually, no, the con ends on Monday, but I think Anime Expo is like Thursday through Sunday. And of course, MomoCon is like that too. They're a 4-day con now, so they're Thursday through Sunday like AX. But anyway, so yeah, Anime Expo would have been this weekend. And Anime Expo is the biggest anime convention in the US or North America. So that everyone had the idea of going there this year, but it's just not possible with COVID-19 being what it is, and especially with it getting worse as it is, it's definitely not a really good idea to have that many people in one place, because Anime Expo is huge. It's like, I want to say that at the highest attendance I've heard that it had is like 100,000 people, and I've experienced big crowds like that attending Dragon Con personally, so it's huge. So I've never been to Anime Expo, so attending Anime Expo Lite, or attend, quote unquote, no, air quotes, I attended Anime Expo Lite, and it was actually a pretty nice experience, even though you don't have the experience of hanging out with friends and going to eat. You get to, talk about anime with strangers on the internet. So that's what was my weekend. I hang out in the Twitch chat, and especially like anything that's Gundam related, because you know me, I'm huge into Gundam. So during the Gundam merchandising panel, I like watch their panel and then just watch people in chat spaz out about the model kits that they were showing off. So it was all good. It was a lot of fun attending, so it was a good experience, and all the more reason to go whenever I get the chance, whenever everyone gets the chance to go. So I am actually thought about going this year if all this COVID wasn't happening. But it might be a possibility next year. But I'll talk about that later. But anyway, so Anime Expo Lite was this weekend, but also FunimationCon was also this weekend. And Funimation, I think they did something like this before several years ago. It was like every week they would have like a 1 hour, 2 hour show called FunnyCon. And they would have celebrities, in-house celebrities from, a lot of Funimation shows like voice actors and all that. They would talk about their favorite characters, favorite series, and then they will go into whatever new or upcoming releases from Funimation. But this is, in 2020, it's spread out over 2 days. But on top of that, they had musical guests and Q&As from a lot of voice actors, especially those involved with My Hero Academia and all that. It's pretty much what you would expect at an actual convention, but the only difference is that it's online. So this was on through their official FunimationCon website, whereas with Anime Expo Lite, it was on YouTube and Twitch. So that was the only difference. So I think I like the aspect of it being on Twitch. I think it was a little disconnected with FunimationCon because they had, with their service, the way it's set up, they didn't have, a traditional Twitch chat. They did have like their own built-in chat thing, but it was like really annoying. And it also like crapped out my browser a couple of times. But they do have a Discord server, so they had a channel just for anything FuniCon related. So there was that. So I enjoyed it a little bit. I didn't get a chance to check out the musical guests. I think Flow was one of them, which I've talked about before, because they would have had a concert this year, but it's been postponed until next year. And yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on. And then Anime Expo had their Liz Annie FN, was just like an Annie song concert, which I didn't get a chance to check out because it was so late, considering that Anime Expo is operating on Pacific time. It was just like hard to juggle that time difference. And so yeah, with that said, with Anime Expo still having some presence online during the same weekend as their physical con, it was still business as usual. So with that said, all the news that I have are between Anime Expo Lite and FunimationCon. So, to kick off, one of the highlights between Anime Expo Lite and FunimationCon is the announcement of the anime adaptation of The World Ends With You video game. So for those that are unfamiliar with The World Ends With You, it is a game made by Square Enix, which was originally released on the Nintendo DS, but it was also re-released for the Switch. So I've actually, as of talking, it is on sale now on the Nintendo eShop. So for those that want to check it out, or if they played it in the past and they have a Switch or just bought one, or for whatever reason they could check it out now, relive their memories, is on there. I personally haven't bought it myself, but I need to check it out. So it's like, I think it's 50% off right now, so that's not bad. So I recommend go getting it if you have an interest in it. So I'm definitely going to do that at some point. But anyway, just to talk about the news. So in addition to it being announced, it's also going to be streaming worldwide, which will be next year in 2021. But Funimation announced that they will be streaming it. So Funimation announced on Friday that it will stream The World Ends With You, the animation, the anime adaptation of Square Enix's series, action role-playing game. Kazuya Ichikawa, responsible for Monster Strike, the animation, Clean Freak, Ayoma-kun, Tante Team Casey Note, is directing the anime. Midori Goto at Sansigen is the screenwriter, and Tetsuya Nomura and Gen Kobayashi are credited with the character design. So Tetsuya Nomura, of course, he's responsible for Final Fantasy 7, 8, 10, I think 13, and a part of 15, but we're not going to go into that right now. Domerica, Fine Witch Petite, and Shinei Animation, Mysterious Joker, and Doraemon are producing the anime. Takeharu Ishimoto is returning from the game to compose music for the anime. The anime will take place in modern-day Shibuya instead of Shibuya in 2007 when the game came out, and will feature modern-day technology such as smartphones. Koki Uchiyama is returning to the franchise to voice Neku. Other cast members include Anna Hachimine as Shiki, Subaru Kimura as Beat, Ayana Taketatsu as Rhyme, and Ryohei Kimura as Joshua. Nintendo's website describes the game: complete the mission or face erasure. That's all Neku knows after regaining consciousness in the middle of a busy intersection without his memories. Now he and his partner must fight to survive a life-or-death game and this twisted tale with more turns than the urban labyrinth of Tokyo they're trapped in. In the crowded chaos of Tokyo, players of the Reaper's game must complete daily missions or face total erasure. Neku might not be enthusiastic about foregoing relationships, but his very life on the line, he'll need to learn how to work together with a partner and fast. They only have 7 days. Jupiter and Square Enix developed the original World Ends With You game that shipped for Nintendo DS in Japan in 2007 and in the West in 2008. The World Ends With You solo remix smartphone game developed by Hand launched for iOS devices in 2012, followed by Android devices in 2014. The World Ends With You final remix game shipped for the Nintendo Switch in Japan in September 2018 and launched in the West in October 2018. Characters from the game franchise also featured in the Kingdom Hearts series. So, there you go. So, that was the biggest thing between the two. But I think Anime Expo, they had a special panel for it. I think they had it, like, secreted. But I think at the beginning of it, right before the ribbon cutting ceremony, which I just missed. I saw the ribbon cutting ceremony, but the Twitch chat was freaking out about the teaser. And also, I think, if I read correctly, the YouTube feed got shut down for like a half hour because of violating the terms of service, and I'm like, oops, that's hilarious. So yeah, Twitch chat was out of control. But yeah, I think it might have been because of that, but like, no, we have permission for this. You know how YouTube is, so that's why I'm trying to stay away from streaming anything like that on YouTube, so I'm just trying to stick to Twitch now, even though Twitch is not really that good in my opinion, but you know, it is what it is. So anyway, moving on. So, speaking of FunimationCon, so there were a lot of announcements for FunimationCon, but I know this is spread out between Anime Expo Lite too, because they did have a lot of their events streamed on Anime Expo Lite's stream, and you know, a lot of these are recorded, so they're not really live. See, a lot of these are recorded, so they put a lot of effort to this in a short amount of time. Although I think with FunimationCon, most of it was live. So yeah, so all the industry panels you saw at AX Lite, they were on FunimationCon's stream and vice versa. Funimation announced during the FunimationCon 2020 event on Friday that it will stream the television anime of author Kei Sasane and illustrator Aoka Nekonabe, Our Last Crusade, or The Rise of the New World light novel series this fall. Funimation also announced that it will begin streaming the Naruto television anime series in North America with English subtitles and a dub on Monday. The following anime will debut on Funimation's streaming service. In North America in July, Super Heroes, which is hero spelled Hxeros. See, just think about it. See, it's a different show that you're probably expecting. Or maybe I should say the Japanese title, which is Dokyo Hentai Hxeros. See? So that was streaming on July 3rd. And then, of course, one of the highly anticipated anime series of the summer is Decadence. And then Usagi-chan Wants to Hang Out, which will be streamed on July 10th. Lapis Relights, which was streamed on July 4th. Muhyo and Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation. Season 2 subtitles will be released on July 7th. All of Season 1 sub launches the same day as Season 2 premieres. And the following anime will continue on Funimation's streaming service this summer. So you got Season 2 of Fruits Baskets, Season 2 of Fire Force, which is another highly anticipated anime series, which is from last year and of this year. Black Clover, the simulcast continuation of One Piece. Will it ever end? Sword Art Online, bear with me on this. Cessation of War of Underworld Part 2 on July 11th. No Guns Life Season 2 on July 9th with Episode 13. The Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. That's one title. July 30th with Episode 3 was just a simulcast. Apare Ranman. July 24th with Episode 4, a simulcast. A Certain Scientific Railgun T. That's the resuming of the simuldub. Diary of Our Days at the Breakwater on July 28th with Episode 4. Bungo and Alchemist Gears of Judgment on July 3rd with Episode 8. And also, Funimation is partnering with Aniplex of America to release Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Mugen Train, or Mugen Rishahin in theaters in North America. In addition, Funimation will expand its streaming service to Mexico and Brazil sometime during the fall of this year, with plans to offer select anime titles subtitled and dubbed in Spanish and Portuguese. And of course, the streaming service is currently available in the US, but it's also in Canada, UK, and Ireland. Its content is available in Australia and New Zealand through Anime Lab. And Funimation transitioned their titles to Anime Lab in Australia and New Zealand in January after shutting down their Funimation Now service in those countries. So there you go. That's like a slew of updates from Funimation. That's not all though. There's more. So that's why I'm like, on Twitter when I meant by that, I'm like, there's just so much to take in. So it's not just Funimation. Well, no. It's not only Funimation, but of course, like I said, when it's business as usual, there's other publishers out there that made announcements. So like there's Yen Press, there's Production IG, there's Aniplex, there's 7 Seas, like, you know, every single anime publisher, releaser, what you name it, they made a lot of announcements. Oh yeah, and Crunchyroll too. So I don't think I have anything Crunchyroll related on this, but it's, you know, I'm actually may not include a link to all the announcements that were announced, but I know Anime News Network only had their omnibus coverage of all the Funimation announcements, but it's just like so much to catch up on. I'm like, come on, slow down, guys. So this episode might be a little longer, but I'm trying to just look the highlights from it and go with that. So also considering that this is the 5th episode of the Centaku Media Journal, you know, I'm still working out the kinks and all that. So I might, next time for something like this, I might just make another separate episode of all the announcements just to deviate away from my usual plan. But, you know, it's a learning curve. It's a work in progress. So anyway, sorry for the derail of the topic. So, speaking of Production IG, which I did mention, there's this brief story that ANN mentioned about something they did on Anime Expo Lite. So they announced at their industry panel, producer Rui Kuroki said that they are working on an anime series in collaboration with Adult Swim. The company plans to announce the anime at what Kuroki called the virtual Comic-Con event. Kuroki stated that the work is something Production IG has never done before. The Comic-Con at Home event will be held from July 22nd through the 26th in lieu of the San Diego Comic-Con. There's also an Adult Swim Con online event that will be held from July 23rd to the 25th. So there you go. You got some more virtual conventions to check out this month. So be sure to expect a lot of news from that too. But I don't know. I might do this experimentation of all the con exclusive coverage, and also considering that I was focusing on taking care of myself, I didn't get a chance to do the whole shebang of doing like live blogging coverage and all that. So that's something I like to do in the future. I tried attempting that back during the days of Centaku Media, but it's just like I could never perfect it. I think at the time I didn't have a smartphone either until like later, by the time I hit my productivity snag. So I'm like, gosh. But yeah, I'll figure it out later, okay? So anyway, no more kicking myself on that. We'll figure it out. So anyway, next up we have news from Fizz Media. So they've licensed several new manga, including the Dr. Stone reboot spin-off manga. Well, it's not really a spin-off, but it's a side story, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. So, during their industry panel on Friday for AXL, the titles include, besides Dr. Stone reboot, Asadora, Tokyo Fashion, a comic book, Psalm 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Beast Complex, Love Sickness, Junji Ito Story Collection, that's the whole title, Call of the Night, rather. Call of the Night, and the King's Beast. So I have a few summaries of a few of the titles mentioned in the list. So for Love Sickness, Junji Ito Story Collection, it's about an innocent love becomes a bloody hell in another superb collection by master of horror Junji Ito. Ryusuke returns to the town he once lived in because rumors are swirling about girls killing themselves after encountering a bewitching, handsome young man. Harboring his own secret from time spent in this town, Ryusuke attempts to capture the beautiful boy and close the case, but starting with the strikingly bloody Love Sickness, this volume collects 10 stories showcasing horror master Junji Ito in peak form, including the strange Hikisuri siblings and the Rib Woman. So for those that like stuff like that, that's something to look forward to. And also, Beast Complex is actually related to the anime series Beastars, which they also had a huge panel about on Expo Lite. But Beast Complex in particular, they're short stories, precursors to the Beastars, and are very much the same style and set in the same world. Any fan would like them, and they also stand on their own. There is one super dark BDSM story in typical Beastar style, which a wolf eats a camel's hand on a date. It's not always clear what the symbolic meaning of these violent incidents are, but basically, like the series Beastars, the stories deal with prejudice, alienation, discrimination, identity, diversity, primal impulses versus civilization, and self-control. Thought-provoking and beautifully illustrated. For readers, 7 short stories that set the scene for the best-selling Beastars series. And these 7 stories, a manager, I'm going to butcher this. I'm guessing is a group? Menagerie. Yeah, menagerie. There we go. Thanks, brain. A menagerie of counterforce and herbivores face challenges based on their differences and try to find common ground. And lastly, the Dr. Stone reboot is subtitled Byakuya. So, for those that are not familiar with Dr. Stone, so, I know, you might have watched the anime, so if you watch the anime, you have an idea what it's about, but the Dr. Stone reboot manga, it's not a reboot of Dr. Stone, but what it is a side story that highlights everything that Byakuya, who is Senku's father, went through during the time when everything was out of control. And they have a summary here, but it kind of gives away the story. Like, if you understand a part of the story, if you watched the first season of the anime or read past what the anime has told us already, then it kind of sets it up as a spoiler. But basically, that's what it is. So it talks about Senku's father. But that was also covered in the anime, and I read a little bit of it. I didn't get a chance to read it all. You can read it on the Fizz Media app for that, all that Shonen Jump manga and all that. So I think it's still available for reading, but of course, since it's coming out in physical form, that might not be. But like, it was really interesting from what I could read of it. I could read of it rather. Grammar. Of course, I do edit a lot of this stuff out, but there's some I might leave in just for the lulz, but you get the idea. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to say any further, but yeah, it's about Senku's father. So if you've seen an anime, you probably get an idea what it's about, but I think it might have some extra stuff in it, but we'll see. And plus, I haven't read this Dr. Stone manga yet, and I need to right before the second season starts. Oh, and speaking of Dr. Stone, so this is not AX or FunimationCon related news, and actually this is like right before that. Yeah, I mean, this was like not announced at the con. So it's like perfect timing. So the official website for the Dr. Stone anime, the official Japanese website, revealed that the second season is coming out in January 2021. I almost said July, because that would have been nice. Because I think it has been a year. It'll be a year this week, I believe, that it aired in Japan. So that's like very... that would have been very nice if it came out this year, because we really need that. Because who knows, maybe Senku can find a cure for COVID-19. So like, this show is very with the times, if you get what if you know what I mean. So yes, the second season of Dr. Stone, which is subtitled Stone Wars, which covers that arc, will premiere in January 2021, and also they show the teaser trailer, and they also have a new visual poster highlighting the characters we've been introduced to so far, and some unfamiliar faces, or familiar faces if you happen to catch up with the manga. So yeah, it's very exciting. So that's all the information that we know about so far of Dr. Stone, so of the second season rather. So there we go. That concludes the con highlight segment of Centaku Media Journal. But there is one news article. It's an exclusive Anime News Network article I totally forgot to share in the last episode. But this one's really important, and considering everything going on in the world, not just with COVID-19, but with all the protests going on concerning the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Anime News Network posted this really good article about the who's who in the black anime voice acting world. So I know there's probably a few names that come to mind when you think of black anime voice actors. And while, there's like a handful of white voice actors that we can name at the, snap of a finger, there's, not many we can name, but that's going to change soon. So, for those that keep up with new series like Naruto or Boruto or My Hero Academia, there are a few names that come to mind. But for those that are out of the loop, there's actually been a couple of veterans. Well, one veteran and then one up and coming, and he's pretty much established voice actor. So the first one that we know about, or what they call the in the know camp, or the heard of camp rather, what they call it. We have Bo Billingsley, who's the voice of Jet Black in Cowboy Bebop, and he's like, if you grew up listening to English dubbed anime like during the early Toonami days, like I want to say like maybe 2003, 2004, like not just Cowboy Bebop, but like Rurouni Kenshin. He was also did a couple of voices in Rurouni Kenshin. Just pretty much every anime series that you can think of that features Steve Blum, they're pretty much under the same dubbing company. I think it's Bang Zoom. I think they're under the same company. So any Bang Zoom series that you watch, chances are you'll probably heard his voice. So if you watch Cowboy Bebop, then that voice is unmistakable. So besides Jet Black, he's also known as the fourth Hokage in Naruto, and he's also the voice of Barrett Wallace in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, to name a few. But he has an exhaustive resume of all the characters he did, major and minor. So there's him, and then one other voice actor who's he's very, very active right now. Like, Bo Billingsley is active, but this is one that needs, much more attention, especially since he's already the voice behind a major, really famous anime character, and that's Keith Silverstein. So, Keith Silverstein, he's currently the voice of Char Aznavour and the Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin series. And he's also full frontal in Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. So that was like his first Char role, but considering that, I'm not going to go into details about the intricacies of Mobile Suit Gundam right now, but yeah. So basically, he set himself up to be Char, and he actually did a really good job portraying Char. And I think he based his voice off the original Canadian dub actor from the Ocean Group dub of Mobile Suit Gundam. So, like, he did a really good job of that. But besides Short Asinable, he's also the voice of Speedwagon in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And for those that not that watch not just anime but are familiar with certain French-made children's shows, he's also the voice of Hawkmoth in Miraculous: The Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. So there's a little info about that. So yeah, Ladybug and Cat Noir is a show that's backed by Toei Animation, but it's made by a French studio, and the guy that made it, I forget his name right at the moment, but yeah, it's really popular among people who are into anime, especially like the younger crowd, because it is a tween show. But Ladybug and Cat Noir could have been an anime, but besides the point. So yeah, Keith Silverstein though, he does a really good voice of Hawkmoth, which I'm not going to say the real name of the character of Hawkmoth, but yeah, he's a really good job of all these characters, and he also, you hear his voice quite a bit in some shows too, especially any shows you hear with Bryce Papenbrook, I think, of pronounce his name. Any shows you hear with him, Christina Fee and all that, he's bound to have a voice role somewhere. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention he's also the voice of Sherman Rose in the English dub of Pokemon Twilight Wings, which I cover on the blog, so be sure to check it out. But he's a really good voice actor. I'm like, so in all of his acting. So that's one actor to keep in mind. But we also have a few newcomers. So these are unfamiliar to me, but I'm pretty sure you probably know who they are. So there's Sino Robinson, who's currently the voice of Hawks in My Hero Academia. He's also Genya in Demon Slayer, and he's also the current voice of Go in Pokemon Journeys, which is currently airing on Netflix as I speak. We also have Danny Chambers, who's the voice of Mahoro in My Hero Academia Heroes Rising. She's also the voice of Dahlia Hawthorne in Ace Attorney, the anime, and Bella in BEM, or BEM, however you want to call it. And lastly, we have Amanda Miller, who's the voice of Boruto Uzumaki in Boruto. She's the current voice of Sailor Jupiter in the Fizz redub of Sailor Moon, and she's also Ride, Mask, and Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans. So I have the article that has a full list of the black voices behind our favorite anime characters on the show notes, so be sure to check it out. And I know this is conveniently timed because I know the current topic following the protest is, having better representation of black voice actors and just black actors in general. And I know a lot of white voice actors that previously voiced black characters, they've stepped down from their roles and, would rather hand it over to someone who is black and deserving of the role. So that's like very perfect timing on that article. It was posted on June 10th though, but that was like leading the conversation afterwards to that. I mean, I don't think this article actually led to that movement, but no, I guess it was probably a topic reference at some point. But yeah, that's like a really good article to read and educate yourself on. So like, I recommend reading that article. To close out our anime news segment, finally, I posted on Centakumedia.com, which is where you can listen to this episode and read the show notes, which I've just mentioned. I posted a post. I published a post about the top 5 anticipated anime of summer 2020. And of course, with everyone having to stay at home and probably much longer depending on where you live, it's going to be a very long summer, so this list will come in handy. So a lot of the anime series have started airing already per this episode release. Some haven't come out yet, but by the time you hear this episode, they should be out, so it'll be a good way to kick off your summer anime viewing sessions. So one of those series, I actually gonna write about, or actually I might have it published by the time this episode is published. I don't know. We'll see how my mood goes. But one of my highly anticipated anime series, which is covered on here, is The God of High School, and I've talked a bit about this, like in bits and pieces on previous episodes of the podcast, and it's about the webcomic, or the webtoon comic rather, which is a Korean made comic about a kid by the name of Jin Mori, who is a martial artist, and he participates in the biggest tournament in Korea that is looking for the God of High School. I guess I think that's how you would say it. I really like bits and pieces of the manga, or not manga, but rather the webtoon, and like, you know, with things the way they are, I always procrastinate, so I haven't read all of it. Like, I read like maybe the first 5 chapters of it, so like I'm really excited about the show, or I am excited about the show, because actually, as of recording this, I already watched the first episode, which is today, Monday, so it's already out on Crunchyroll or Verve if you have it, because Verve is a Crunchyroll product, so if you have one, you can still watch it, so I recommend checking it out, and like I said, I might have a commentary post about it in the very near future, so look forward to that, and stay tuned on SentakuMedia.com or on our social media networks for the deets. Anyway, so that's it for our anime news segment. Ooh, and it only took about a little over 30 minutes. Well, I think it might be less than 30 minutes because I was talking about FunimationCon, but it's still anime related, so you get the idea. But anyway, so since we're done with anime news, we're gonna go into gaming. I don't have a lot of gaming news this week, and of course, you know, I had that mix up for all the news I had for gaming last month, which is actually kind of rivaling. I'm gonna use a different word that basically mirrors what I talked about with the anime announcements. So, one of the announcements from that it was actually published on the day this episode was published. It's about a Pokemon Presents event. So, Pokemon Presents is the same, like a live stream event that reveal the information concerning Pokemon Snap, the upcoming Pokemon Snap game that's made by Bandai Namco, and the Pokemon Cafe Mix game. So they had another one on June 24th, which was the same day as this episode was published, but you know, I have a deadline, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it in time. So there's a new Pokemon game coming out. There's so many Pokemon side games coming out, it's ridiculous. It's called Pokemon Unite, and Pokemon Unite is a MOBA style game. The live stream announced that Pokemon Unite will be released on the Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android. Tencent, who is the biggest conglomerate in China, and they also own a stake in Riot Games, who owns League of Legends, which is also a MOBA game. Their Teamy Studio Group is producing the game in collaboration with the Pokemon Company. The game is the franchise's first strategic team-based battle game. The game allows 10 players to participate in 5-on-5 real-time battles, and it supports cross-platform play. The free-to-start game will include in-app purchases. Each team has 5 goals that they use to catch Pokemon and score points. Captured Pokemon can defeat other Pokemon to level up and earn attacks. Each Pokemon has its own special Unite move that players can unlock when they reach a certain level. The team that scores the most points during the time limit wins. China's Tencent conglomerate announced last July that its Teamy Studio Group is developing a new game in the Pokemon franchise. And also, there's some little information that you may not know about. Tencent sells the Nintendo Switch console in China. Teamy Studio Group previous work includes smartphone games such as Call of Duty Mobile. So, if you don't have enough Pokemon games in your life, then this is one to look forward to. Especially it's a MOBA, because I know there's quite a bit of MOBA nerds and Pokemon nerds out there. So there you go. So to move on. So Square Enix, they, how Square Enix is. They kind of stingy with a lot of announcements, or they make announcements that are like, what the heck? It's like, what gives? Why did you cancel this? Why did you announce this? Or why are you doing this at all? But, Square Enix, they always do something like last minute, but it's, well intentioned, because, they're very cautious about things. It's understandable. It's Square Enix, so they take their time with things, and in the end it pays off. So Square Enix, you figured Square Enix would make some announcements last month during that whole month of E3 that went on, since E3 didn't happen this year. So Square Enix, they are planning to make announcements this month and into August. So during an interview with Square, we would normally announce new games at E3, in which they said this with no investment, no life. We had planned to have a press conference as a replacement event, but we were unable to do so since assets were not complete. We'll be announcing new titles individually as timing permits, and several will be announced during July and August. So one of the games that were actually part of their July and August reveals was already revealed, and for those that are out of the loop with gaming, a new Kingdom Hearts game was announced, but it's not a mainline Kingdom Hearts game. And this one is called Melody of Memory, which is a rhythm-based game. It was announced, or rather leaked, last month, but with it being leaked, they had no choice but to announce it immediately. So that was like very inconvenient for them. So that was probably like, come on guys, like why? Because Kingdom Hearts, like people have been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 for like years. It's been through the same development hell as Final Fantasy 15, and like I think I talked about that in the last episode. Yeah, I did talk about Final Fantasy 15 and how much development it went through and changes and just, everything different altogether from what they intended to. But yeah, so it's understandable that a Kingdom Hearts game will be released, but I'm kind of anxious to find out if they're going to do anything different for, like, I don't know, Final Fantasy X. Like, okay, so I'm one of those people that are waiting for a new game in the Final Fantasy X franchise, because it's like their second biggest game in the franchise besides 7. I think, well, at least to me, I know Final Fantasy X has a special place in my heart, and I don't know if I even talked about this, but I'm actually going to save it for the next episode. I'm not going to go into it, otherwise we'll be here all day. But yeah, I really, really love Final Fantasy X. It's like my go-to Final Fantasy game. Like, my first Final Fantasy game was 8, but I ended up playing 10 and finished it. That was my first. It was my second Final Fantasy game, but the first Final Fantasy game I completed all the way through. So yes, I know we need to have a conversation about me not playing through Final Fantasy 8, but that's a long story too. So I'll do that another day. I might do a live stream for it. Who knows? But I am waiting for another game in the Final Fantasy X franchise, and I know you're asking why. If I explain why, that will involve spoilers, but let's just say it involves 3 important characters from a time in the past. That's it. I'm just gonna leave it at that, because, like I said, there's just too much to go in. And I might do like a special episode of it. I don't know. I have so many ideas for this podcast. You don't even know. Like I'm actually surprised I haven't recorded like maybe 5 episodes and had them scheduled out throughout the rest of the year. That might happen at some point since everything is coming back to normal for me as far as my workload. Like, I'm excited about actually pursuing what I had planned, but I'm going off topic. But anyway, so yeah, that's it for Square Enix. We were talking about Square Enix, so yes, new game announcements between July and August. So look forward to that, and of course I will be talking about it once it drops. So the last piece of gaming news I have here is something that I also mentioned on Twitter that might be embarrassing, but I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. So in the previous episode of the Centaku Media Journal and on the second episode of the monthly podcast, which was about Dragon Ball Super. Please check it out. I at the end of the episode I plugged Twitch and all my other social media accounts, right? One of the services I mentioned as I was plugging my social media accounts for Centaku Media was Mixer. So yeah, that was a mistake. So, with that said, Microsoft is to shut down Twitch competitor Mixer on July 22nd. Microsoft announced today that the company will be shutting down its streaming site Mixer on July 22nd and will partner with Facebook Gaming moving forward. The shutdown starts today with a transition plan already planned out by Microsoft for Mixer streamers. Mixer partners will be granted partner status with Facebook Gaming, and the platform will honor and match all existing partner agreements as closely as possible, according with the blog detailing the change. Several big-name streamers such as Ninja and Shroud moved from Twitch exclusively to Mixer this year. On Twitter, popular streamer King Goffalon announced he would be moving to Facebook. Earlier this year, he signed a deal to stream exclusively on Mixer. It also appears some Mixer streamers, employees, and partners weren't given heads up about the situation, about the shutdown rather. So that's from Kotaku. So there's been more details about this since I found the story. But of course, I think with Kotaku they interviewed streamers that had thoughts about the shutdown. And of course, they were none too happy about it because the reason they even went to Mixer was to escape the issues plagued on Twitch, which I sympathize with. And I know the biggest thing is finding growth. Like, if it weren't for Mixer, they wouldn't be where they are today. Apparently, it's a little easier to get into Mixer, or at least was, to find an audience on Mixer than it is on Twitch. Because Twitch, for the longest time, had discoverability issues, and that was my biggest issue, too, having to stream Final Fantasy XIV day in and day out. But also, that was my mistake, because Final Fantasy XIV is just that kind of game that you don't stream if you have a very small audience, and only if you're an established player, unless you have an idea to establish yourself to boost yourself to where it is. So, it's a game of chance with streaming streaming in general. But I think with Mixer, it was a little easier, and it's just, I've streamed on Mixer several times, although I haven't had any chatters, but apparently there were a lot of viewers, so no one said anything, but I just kept away, and it was actually a lot of fun. No one talked to me, but the fact that people were actually watching, that I'm hoping they weren't bots, was very comforting. So I had a lot of high hopes for Mixer, so that's why I went ahead and did multi-streams between Mixer and Twitch. Twitch, I wasn't getting nothing. Oh no, of course it depends on the game you play. So actually the last game I played was Jet Set Radio, and I actually got a good amount of viewers. But that's also a niche game, I guess what you call that, cult. It's a game that has a cult following, so it's expected to get quite a bit of viewers. So I don't know, it's just the whole idea of streaming in general, especially on Twitch. It's just very grindy. And a lot of people that found refuge in Mixer and got partner status and all that, they're just not taking it very well too. And people are still skeptical about Facebook being the new game streaming platform. They're competing. They're now the official leading competitors of Twitch now because of the shutdown with Mixer. Of course, because they're working together, trying to accommodate people that don't have a home on Mixer anymore. So people are so skeptical about that, and I'm also skeptical about it because I'm having growth issues too on Facebook. But of course, it all depends on what you do and how you do it, and it's just with Facebook that's also not fair. It's probably worse than Twitch, honestly. But I can go on all day about this. But yeah, you get the idea how people feel about this. So I'm that's why I said I made that mistake on I didn't make the mistake. I didn't know this was gonna happen, and this was all of a sudden because it was funny. 2 days after I recorded those episodes, they say, "Oh yeah, Mixer's shutting down, effective immediately." And I'm like, "What? I already said that I was a Mixer." But well, so by the time the next episode drops, which will be on July 22nd, Mixer will be there no more. So you don't have to worry about, like, so if you go back to the past episodes to find out exactly where I am on Mixer, you don't have to worry about it. So it'll be going by the time the next episode of the journal drops. But anyway, yeah, so just look forward to Centaku Media on Twitch, which is actually the new handle now. So I've been promoting it as Centaku-chan. It's at Centaku Media now. So there's that way I can line up with all of our other social media handles in the name. But of course, Centaku-chan stands for Centaku Channel, so I think I'll just keep that for YouTube for the time being. Unless I find any well, I don't think I can even change my URL for YouTube, so I'm fine with where it is. So unless I decide to remake the channel, but that won't be happening anytime soon, because I've had this channel for a long time too, so I'm like, I'm fine with the name. Like, Centaku-chan was fine too, but I said, you know what, if I want to get serious on Twitch in the future, I might as well switch it up, so there it is. Anyway, that's it for gaming news. So, of course, we go into the entertainment news segment. Yeah, we're almost done, guys, so I promise we're almost done. I know we're going into like 50 minutes, a little over 50 minutes in this, but... So, last episode talked about BLACKPINK making their 2020 comeback. So, as of this episode, they have already officially released their music video and single, How You Like That. So that's their new single for 2020. And with that, they've already smashed almost a dozen records. And not literally, but like, as far as viewership and listening goes, it's like the biggest thing right now, in 2020, considering the following. So, BLACKPINK, their music video on YouTube earned them 5 Guinness World Records. Guinness revealed that with over 86.3 million views in the first day of release, How You Like That set the records for most viewed YouTube video in 24 hours, most viewed music video on YouTube in 24 hours, and most viewed YouTube music video in 24 hours by a K-pop group. While those titles were already major achievements, Guinness also announced 2 more records with for the group. After confirming with YouTube that the live premiere of How You Like That reached 1.66 million peak concurrent viewers, Guinness recognized BLACKPINK with the record for most viewers for the premiere of a video on YouTube, and the record for most viewers for the premiere of a music video on YouTube. So that's like an all kill right there. And they actually got an all kill in Korea. So all kill, for those that don't know that term, an all kill is when they have every single track from their album on a chart. So like the music charts, real-time music charts in Korea. So when a big group like BLACKPINK releases something like that, every single track on their album is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just like all over the place. So that's what they call all kill. So like you might normally see like 1 track or 2 on the charts, but no, like in Korea, it's like easy to get an all kill. I'm sure in the US or any other parts of the world has happened, but yeah, that's what they call an all kill, because K-pop is serious business. So there's going to be an all kill with K-pop. So congratulations to BLACKPINK for this accomplishment. And it's actually like a sigh of relief, because everyone thought that BLACKPINK was done for, since YG wasn't really doing much with them after their world tour. So it's really nice to see them get a lot of attention again after that dark period of uncertainty. So yeah, congratulations to BLACKPINK. So, speaking of congratulations, so I've talked about this a few episodes back, but I'm going to be talking about him quite a bit in the podcast, because he's my bae right now, so I can't help it. But I'm going to try to give everyone equal attention, as I might bring on like a co-host or something. They could gush about their favorite celebrity. You know how it is. We gush about our own characters, especially when we have a podcast. You just can't help but make like maybe 50 episodes about that one character, which is probably going to happen, but it might not happen. You get the idea. But anyway, so the next the celebrity I'm about to talk about is Jung Suk. So I talked about him a couple of weeks, or not a couple of weeks ago, but a couple of episodes back. So Jung Suk, for those that don't know, he played Hwang Tae-kun in You Were Beautiful, which was aired back in 2009. So that's old school. Right now, it's an old school K-drama. I almost said anime. I don't know why. It could be an anime. I don't know. Who knows? Like, it was actually really popular in Japan. But yeah, You're Beautiful, which was about a fictitious Korean band that featured him, Lee Hong-ki from FT Island, and Younghwa from CN Blue, but also it was Park Shin-hye, who played her brother, which could have been in the group, but they're actually twins. That's the plot of the group, the drama. So it's actually really interesting. So that caught my interest, not because of Jung Suk. I didn't even know who he was at the time, but after watching that drama, he had me hooked. So I'm like, I gotta find out more about this. But he's also a singer. So he's a He's not a traditional singer, but it's just something he does on the side. So he's actually released a few albums in Japan. So he's really popular in Japan. But not only he's released solo albums, but he also has a subunit called Team H, which is with his friend, and I think it's a classmate from the university he attended, Hanyang University, by the name of Kurt. He goes by Big Brother, who's a electronica artist in Korea. So that's like one of his highlights as a musician. But anyway, see, I'm gushing over him, and it's like I said, it's gonna happen quite a few times. But anyway, so Jung Suk, he recently completed his military service. So he enlisted quietly back in 2018, but as of the end of May, he is a free man and he's getting back to business. So Soonpee published a translation of an article that of him talking about how he's accepted his past and what he looks forward to moving forward. In a recent interview for Arena On Plus magazine, Jung Suk spoke candidly about how he came to terms with his own past. After being discharged from the military in May, Jung Suk has slowly begun to return to life as a celebrity. While posing for the cover of Arena On Plus's July issue, the actor impressed the magazine staff with the contrast between his youthful appearance and powerful, mature aura. A source for Arena On Plus commented, "The pictorial captures Jung Suk with a fresh, clean look that makes it seem as if he hasn't aged a day during the past 2 years. The only thing that's changed is his aura." In the interview that followed, Jung Suk revealed that he had spent his time in service taking a thoughtful look at his own life thus far, sharing, "I took some time to look back at and reflect on my past self." He then confessed that he had once been tormented by the past, but that he had learned to move on and accept it as a part of himself. "In the past, I used to want to delete the internet's records about himself," said the actor. "But if I delete those things, wouldn't it be like erasing myself? I can't erase my history." As for any misconceptions that the public has of him, Jung Suk remarked, "I hope that any misunderstanding about me will be resolved by facts and justifications." The star went on to reveal that he has a new life philosophy on which he hopes to build his future. He explained, "If you live by your principles, you can avoid any incidents. I plan to live by that philosophy in the future." So, with that said, I am really, really excited about what he has to bring in the future. And also, I think I said in that last episode where I talked about him being officially released from the military is that he was willing to do something different from what he's done in the past. So I know he plays, to get an idea what kind of characters he plays for those that are not familiar with him, he likes to play those a-hole characters. So like, You're Beautiful, for example. So his main character comes off as arrogant. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if you think of, I don't know, Byakuya Kuchiki from Bleach, it's kind of that same character. I know he's more, talkative, but he still has that arrogant attitude. But over time, his character changes. And there have been a few dramas where he portrays that same character. And I know one of them was Pretty Man, which is actually, like, one of my favorite dramas. Like, I totally forgot all about that drama, but it's just like kind of he has the same kind of character, but I really enjoyed it, and like I've only watched it that one time, and I'm like I need to watch it again now that I think about it. But there was one K drama. There's been a couple of other K dramas he's been in recently before he was in the army. He was on a most recent drama called Switch, and that one like it's on my watch list, and I said that my watch list isn't so bad compared to my anime watch list. So I'm like, I need to watch this ASAP before he does anything different. But before that, he was also in a historical K-drama, or historical setting K-drama called Jackpot or Debak. And that one I was like, skeptical about. Just to give you a little idea about me, I don't really care for like historical stuff. I know that sounds bad, but like any westerns or stuff like that, like I try to get into it. I guess it depends on what it is. I guess if it's not hokey, I'll enjoy it, but it's just something that I'm not interested in, at least not right now. But I know apparently it's a really good drama, so it's like one of his decent dramas in a while. I know Pretty Man and Love Rain, they didn't do very well. Like Love Rain did a little better compared to You're Beautiful. No, well, I guess it's like the same, maybe not as much. Pretty Man was like a little lower compared to Love Rain, and then Switch did okay, so I think it wasn't too bad. So at least there was some hype about it. So I'm glad that he found success in that. I think that drama he changed his character up a little bit, so that one probably gave him a little bit of a chance of what he has to offer in the future. So yeah, so look forward to more news about him in the future, and who knows, I might do something write something different about him in the future on the blog. He's also a One Piece fan, just some random tidbits of info. Anyway, enough fangirling. So, last piece of news for entertainment. So, there was a lot of news surrounding the group news, the J-pop group news. So, one of the members of news, Yuya Tegoshi, he is no longer part of news nor his agency, Johnny and Associates. And there's like different sides of the story, but I don't know if it's just more of a case of he screwed up, or if Johnny's is like questionable. They have questionable business ethics anyway, so I'm like, But I think this might be more of his fault, but we'll figure it out. And Arama Japan, they had like a comprehensive article about his most recent live stream. Well, he probably did another one since then, but this article I found in the time, but since the last episode of Centaku Media Journal, and this one, he held a press conference on his YouTube channel, and he basically talked about all the controversy surrounding his recent departure from the group and the agency. But yeah, Arama Japan has like a 2-page article of it. I only have the first page of it and like the gist of it. You get an idea what the heck is going on. But like I have the link to the site in the show notes just for further reading. But I'll give out what has been said so far. So back in mid-June, it was suddenly revealed that Yuya Tegoshi would no longer be a member of News and Johnny and Associates. Shortly after he created his own official Twitter account, but was met with disappointment of many fans. Despite that, he already achieved 1 million Twitter followers. Tegoshi then went on to announce his official YouTube channel, saying that he would hold a press conference there for an hour, clearing up many other rumors that have followed him for the past 2 months. He started off thanking News members, including all original members when the group was 9 people. He also thanked his fans, co-workers at the television show Itek, I think, and everyone who he was able to work with before. Previously, fans were very upset that he didn't acknowledge his fellow news members or apologize for anything. Tegoshi stated that he had thoughts of leaving news for a while now. This began about 4 years ago. This wasn't because he had any discord with the members. He still considers them close friends. Tegoshi thought that if he were to leave the group, then it would betray his fans, co-workers, and group mates. He later said that he would still want to be a member of News leading into his 40s or 50s, but he wanted to challenge himself more. In March 2020, Tegoshi had told members and management that he had plans to leave. They were supposed to go on a nationwide tour in support of the group's 11th studio album Story, but he wanted to leave after completing the Story tour, but the tour was canceled due to the coronavirus. During this time, Johnny's management was encouraging talent to stay at home, as seen with their Smile Up project, an initiative to help fans stay home too. Tegoshi was involved in a bunch of scandals where he was caught going out during Japan's stay-at-home order. Tegoshi claimed that he always informed his manager when he would be going out. He talked about his quote-unquote drinking party with girls, but he said this wasn't actually a party, it was more of a meeting to discuss charity events and plans. The next time he went out, it was a business meeting. He does acknowledge that fans may have gotten the wrong impression and caused a misunderstanding. He also stated that the girls he brought all previously avoided unnecessary outings, abiding by the suggested stay-at-home rules. It wasn't long after where Johnny's brought in a lawyer, so Tegoshi had to hire one himself, the man pictured in the Arama Japan article. This seemed to be the most civil way to settle matters, since Tegoshi's contract doesn't expire until next year. Johnny's apparently didn't wait for further explanation from Tegoshi and told him to obtain a lawyer ASAP once gossip magazines began to report on his issues. And due to lawyers being involved, Tegoshi still has not had a chance to speak to the remaining 3 news members, but he did receive a message from Kichiro Koyama, so that's like the first page of that article, but it's like, you want to think, like, is this his fault, or is there more, like, whose side to believe on? So, for those that don't know, Johnny's and Associates, they have very questionable business ethics, and there's been controversy surrounding them. And I know their founder, Johnny Kitagawa, he passed away last year, and I think I covered this. Yeah, I did cover this. I covered this in a post last year, or early this year, on Centaku Media, basically talking about how Japan is, like, behind on the times when it comes to digital media. So, for music in particular, not a lot of music labels in Japan are welcoming of having their music distributed digitally, and Johnny's is one of them. And when Johnny Kitagawa passed away, a lot of people were saying good riddance, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck? And then people would pretty much say that he's had a stranglehold on his artists. So Johnny's and Associates, a lot of the groups, like, besides News, included SMOP, Cartoon, and let's see who else. There's one more that comes to mind. Kinky Kids, I think, is one of them. I think, but those are the kind of groups you think about when you hear Johnny's and Associates. But besides all that nonsense that they have, I mean, it's probably not nonsense, but like, you gotta wonder though, like, this is weird. So one of the weirdest things I mentioned in this post is that with SMOP, they've had to where if you buy digital copies of a lot of the magazines that involve Johnny's and Associates members, one of them was An. So someone in the US who's a huge SMOP fan, they ordered a digital copy of one of the magazines that I think Takuya Kimura appeared in. And so when this person got the issue, they were in for a rude awakening, which turned out that there were no pictures of Kimura to be found, and that's because they have a rule where anything involving the members that's posted digitally have to be removed. So they're basically censored just to protect the artists. And they've been, of course, in Korea they have what they call saseng fans. So they're basically crazy fans that stalk their favorite group members, like, to the store or through the window. It's just they go up straight up creepy things. And they, of course, this is not just in Korea, but it could be anywhere too. And Japan and Korea, apparently, they're very serious about idols. So like, stuff can get crazy like that. So Japan went the extra mile, and they're doing these things to their artists by protecting them by not having anything of theirs posted online. Like, not even the album art, because like, I do like several of SMAP's songs, and of course they're not available on digital. And that's the other thing. So there's a separate article, I think. Like, I gotta link this in the show notes. I gotta remember to link it. If not, I'll post it on Twitter. I just gotta remember this because I'm like, having an idea to talk about. So yeah, so one of the articles I posted, Johnny's an associate. They just don't see digital platforms as something to invest in, and like this is the 21st century, and I'm like, come on, y'all. And not, I think it's just Japan in general that kind of weird, because not a lot, like any other artist that non Johnny's associate related, like I don't know, like there's some kind of like, oh yeah, Bees. They don't have, they do have a library. They do have quite a few albums on their Japanese iTunes store, but I think there's some not available in the US store, and then I think there's some artists that's not on iTunes at all, even between US and Japan. And I think not even in our own countries, but to even like get into watching like music videos or any streaming services, you have to have a Japanese IP address, or you can use a VPN just to bypass it. But we shouldn't have to do that, because like, come on, we like, even though we're like miles away, we still like them, we still want to enjoy their content, so why are you keeping it away from us? So yeah, Johnny's an Associate is like one of those companies, so they rather do physical media, and any album art that's of their groups, like if you go to CG Japan or Yes Asia, they'll just have like placeholder art, and I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. This was something they done recently, because back in the day when I first heard of like a lot of SMAP's songs, like I guess they're second generation songs, I remember what they look like, but now it's just like you have to dig for it. I'm like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I went on a tangent about that, but yeah, this is what this podcast is for. But I went overboard, so you get the idea of how things are going. So he might be, I mean, he's probably in the wrong, cause like he did go out when he shouldn't really have to, or he shouldn't have to at all, and then like he should have like not jump. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. I think he messed up. It's from what it sounded like, but it was just a mess from what it sounded like. So anyway, I recommend checking out the article just to give you an idea. And plus, they do have a link to the press conference, I believe, on Aroma Japan. So be sure to check it out in the show notes. And that concludes the entertainment section of the Centaku Media Journal, and we're almost done. I promise, we're almost done. I know this is like going over to an hour and a half now, so again, like I got an idea of what to do in the future to keep it short as possible. But so I only have one offbeat news item just to finish off the Centaku Media Journal, and actually no, I got two. I have two articles of the Centaku Media offbeat section. So a certain leader of a country, which I'm not going to refer to by name, and I'm pretty sure you all know who I'm talking about, but just because of how toxic he is, I am not even going to mention him by name. But like, if you're curious of who he is, the link will be in the show notes. But like I said, he doesn't even need any kind of mention. But this one will give you some little excitement and something to look forward to come November in the elections. So, K-pop fans and TikTokers deflate POTUS rally attendance in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So, the current United States president held a rally in mid-June in Tulsa, Oklahoma to a crowd far smaller than he expected, thanks to K-pop stans and TikTokers. POTUS held his Tulsa rally on June 20th, and according to his campaign officials, over 1 million people registered their attendance at the rally, with local officials stating that 100,000 of those registrants will be in physical attendance at the rally. POTUS himself also acknowledged the high volume of requests for tickets for his rally. However, it was revealed that the majority of tickets reserved were done by a massive team of K-pop stans and TikTokers from around the world, leading to the president believing that many people wanted to listen to him. In reality, the audience in the stadium was around 50% full. The overflow area outside of Funia was nearly empty. Numerous people inside the rally pointed out the low attendance as well, with the upper bowls nearly empty. Several prominent politicians and personalities, most notably New York House of Representatives member Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, voiced their appreciation for both the K-pop community and TikTokers who tricked the POTUS. And because of that, like, people are actually, looking up to K-pop fans. Like, give me some music recommendations. Come on, y'all, do it. So, like, that's like a moment of, righteousness right there. Like, I'm really excited for that happened. Like, whoever's listening to this podcast, I don't know if you like this person that's in office, but I know some of us don't. So that's why I did not refer to him by name. But I'm pretty freaking sure you know who I'm talking about. So there you go. So, like, if you're curious to know who I'm talking about, go ahead and check it out in the show notes. But I am not giving this person name a share of, I'm not sharing the same time with this person's name. So, like, you get the idea. Like, it's just horrible. Like, I don't talk about politics. Like, there's some important information I'll talk about, like I just did in an earlier episode, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going that far, but there you go. Speaking of politics, like, I said, I don't talk about politics directly, but this one is, like, indirect about a politician. So, Sunrise, which is the studio that's responsible for a lot of anime series, like Gundam in particular, they had to make an announcement saying that they had no connection to the candidate for Tokyo governor. The gubernatorial candidate for Tokyo, Teruki Goto, cosplayed as Code Geass's Lelouch Lamperouge. I don't know how you pronounce it. I apologize. So yeah, he cosplayed as Lelouch from Code Geass for his campaign. The statement translated saying, "There is a candidate for the 2020 Tokyo governor election who has been using a poster in his campaign depicting a cosplay that strongly evokes the image of the Code Geass character Lelouch. However, this has no connection to Sunrise, the production committee, and to the people related to the work in question." Goto, a musician who often runs a perennial candidate in various Japanese elections, cosplay as the Code Geass character Lelouch in his latest campaign poster. He showed off his poster on his YouTube channel on Saturday. The poster reads in commanding tone, evoking Lelouch, "I, Teruki Goto, command you vote for me," which is, as in character. In the 2016 race for governor in Tokyo, his campaign poster showed him naked while holding a katana over his head. Infamously, at the time, his speeches and posters were cut from television coverage due to his verbal profanities and militaristic presentation. He has since apologized on Twitter, saying, "I am sorry, I apologize for causing trouble," and posters of him cosplaying as Lelouch have been removed from political ads in Tokyo. So, there you go. So you got a little fandom support to get rid of a candidate, and then you have a candidate using something a fan holds near and dear to them just for their own personal gain, and also to possibly to make the group look bad. So I know that's like kind of a unfortunate mix, but that's like, something. There's something good and something right going on here. So it's like a very interesting mix of stories going on here. So yeah, that's all the offbeat news we have for this episode. So thank you for sticking around. I know that's a little long than it needed to be, but I think I got this next time. So I hope the length of time doesn't put any people off. But I think I have an idea of how to streamline all the news concerning like gaming expos and anime events like that in the future. But I hope you enjoy hearing me ramble about what I enjoy, which basically gives you an idea of how I am, and I hope that you grow to like this podcast and what I offer in time. But again, thank you for listening, and if there was anything I forgot to mention in this segment, stay tuned for the outro segment, which will be coming up right after these messages. Welcome back to our conclusion of episode 5 of the Centaku Media Journal. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it, even though it's a little longer than usual. It's like every episode, it gets longer and longer, but of course, it's because for the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot to talk about when it comes to gaming and anime goodness, and also some K-pop and J-pop in between. But so next time, my goal was to, well, again, this was totally unexpected since, you think that, there's not really going to be as many as announcements as usual, considering COVID-19 putting a cog in the wheel, or whatever the saying goes, basically making issues for everything. So, with E3 canceled, individual game developers, they made their own announcements throughout the month of June, and of course continuing throughout the rest of the year, like with Square Enix, as we just talk about doing some announcements this month and in August. But with Anime Expo, like I said, everything was just business as usual. So of course, I didn't even plan for this. But next time, I guess I would do a separate episode covering all the news. But then again, this is only the 5th episode of the podcast, and I'm still technically new to podcasting, even though I actually launched this podcast 10 years ago, but never actually, progressed through it, and I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to do. But now, since I have more time for stuff like this, then I could actually see this through the way I want it in the end. But I do like the way I have everything so far, and again, every recording comes with improvements, so that's one of the improvements I do plan on making in the future. But anyway, so I don't think I have anything else. Oh yeah, so one other thing. So when I was talking about streaming in the episode, I do plan on doing live streams in the future on Twitch, which is now at Centaku Media instead of Centaku-chan, so update your bookmarks, even if you still use bookmarks. But also, you can check us out through the new social links website on the Centaku Media website, which is centakumedia.com/networks. And if you view that through your mobile browser, on whatever mobile browser you use, like Safari, Chrome, or Firefox, it will have simplified links to all the social networks that's associated with Centaku Media, and also some content highlights around the network, which would be something from the blog or the latest episode of this podcast. So you've probably stumbled upon this episode from that link. So there you go. So yeah, streaming. I do plan on doing streams in the future, but it'll be in the impromptu format, which is what I did in the past, like maybe the past couple of years. Although, like, as of the last 4 months, I haven't streamed anything with being busy with work. But now, if things are going back to normal with workload and having more members of the team, then I can do what I need to do. And also, I might stream Final Fantasy 14 again in the future, but it won't be involving the story, because no, that takes way too long. It's like really annoying. So I'm sure if you play Final Fantasy 14, you know what I'm saying. And plus, I talked about that in an episode that is just not worth streaming unless I find a better idea to stream it to add value to it. So yeah, that's another episode. But I'm about to head on out. If you like this podcast, do something to appreciate it, like leave a review, subscribe, like and share, and all that good stuff. And also check us out on Twitter, which is at Centaku Media, Facebook and Instagram, which is under the same handles, and on YouTube, Centaku-chan. Don't go to Mixer because I won't be there anymore by the time you listen to this after July 22nd. And until next time, so long. I won't forget your last betray. I'll never forget this day.